Hey, I'm Tony Todd, and this is Throwing Heat. I'm here with Ross the Boss and Dan Ratner. Today, we have a special guest, my buddy. You might know him. I can no longer call him by his first name. Let's welcome Tim Rock Reigns to the house. What's up, Rock?
Not much, man. Just ready to do this. Let's do it.
Okay, let's go. Rock, growing up in Sanford, Florida back in the day, did you ever think or dream that you would be in the Hall of Fame?
Not at all, seriously. Especially when we're talking about baseball. When I was growing up, obviously we played all sports. Football, basketball, baseball. Ran a little track, but I never really thought, baseball was going to be the sport that I ended up playing for my career. Football was something that I enjoyed a lot more. Obviously, in Florida, football is a little bit bigger. Well, a lot bigger than baseball, even though baseball is big in Florida. At the high school level, football is the first sport that starts school, and everybody gets excited about the football season. And that was something that I was really keen on as a youngster. So, O.J. Simpson was my idol. I felt like I was going to be the next O.J. Simpson, running back in the NFL. I ended up not growing another 3 or 4 inches, so that kind of put me in a position to be able to to do and I love baseball. I mean, baseball was the first sport I played, but when you're young, you like the excitement, you like the fans, you like to hear the crowd, and you kind of grow up around that. And you get a little bit more excited about the football games than you did baseball. I remember having maybe 4 or 5 fans for baseball games in high school. My mom, my dad, and a couple of friends. So it was certainly something that I didn't really think about.
Right.
But once my career got going, I didn't really think about it then either. I felt like, when you first get into baseball, you get into major leagues, you think about getting to the next year.
Right.
And then after that, you get into the next year. So
right.
After you get 4 or 5 years in, you feel like you belong. You start putting some nice stats up. You start enjoying playing the game. You start enjoying competing at the highest level. But as far as Hall of Fame, I don't think you think about that until, your career is over.
Right. But when you're in high school, were you recruited by certain colleges or no?
I was recruited by football colleges. I
Which
didn't
schools?
get one.
Name of school, right?
Ohio State, Florida, Florida State.
So
I pretty much could have went.
I
pretty much could have went anywhere I wanted to, really. But
okay, I'll let you tell it.
Yeah, but when it came to to go into a few visits, I noticed how much bigger those guys were than me.
Oh yeah.
And how they were looking at me like, fresh meat. We can't wait to get this guy on the practice field. We're gonna beat him up.
Right.
So that didn't scare me, but I felt like I had an opportunity coming out of high school. One, to get drafted, but then making a decision on if I'm gonna sign or about to go to college to play both sports. But what I ended up deciding was, I felt like at a young age, getting the opportunity to play baseball year round and every day at the professional level, I would gain a lot more. I would learn more. In the minor leagues. And if things didn't work out, I was 17 when I graduated. So I would give myself 2.5 years to see if, things would go well in baseball. If it didn't work out, I would have went back to football. But thank God it worked out the way it did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because, some football players nowadays, they can't even get out of bed. I heard a story about Earl Campbell. It takes him like 20 minutes just to get out of the bed.
Yeah, I saw him on a show, one of those hot rod shows where you get your car fixed up, you get it jacked up and you pick it up and pull it down. And this guy was fixing his car, and I noticed how slow he was walking. I was like, wow.
Made the right choice.
Tim, the NFL, the average player plays like 3.5 years. And you played how many years in baseball? Was it
23 years.
23. You were still playing until when you were 42 years old.
Yes.
You can't do that in football.
No. Well,
Unless you're Tom Brady.
unless you're Tom
Tom Brady, you can
Unless
play
you're
that
Tom
many
Brady.
years.
Right.
That's the exception. Or Drew Brees, but he just retired. Tim, I have
Or
a
you're a
question
punter,
for you.
or
Really,
you're a punter or a kicker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
really quick. You know, you and Tony are really friendly. I've been around Tony a lot. You guys talk on the phone all the time. How did you two guys meet? I mean, how did you meet Tony Todd? He's a big celebrity in Los Angeles. How did you meet him?
Well, I'm not sure if it's the first time we met, but I remember meeting him in Chicago. We did the show. What was the name of that show?
Come on now, man. The movie called Little Big League.
Little Big Leagues, Big Leagues, and I had a little role in there. I played myself, which is cool.
That's a stretch.
And I don't know if you remember, Tony. Remember when I first came up there, the guy goes, "Okay, we want you to hit a home run to right field."
Mm-hmm.
And the first pitch the guy threw, I hit it out of the ballpark.
Yeah, yes, you did. Yes, you did.
And then the guy goes, "Wait a minute, we want you to hit a double. Now we don't really want you to hit a home run."
Mm-hmm.
So after that first swing, it took us about 2 or 3 more hours for me to hit that double down the line.
Oh yeah.
And it was cold in Chicago.
Yes, it was.
So it was the first time being on set and getting a chance to meet all the guys that was on that show. And I think that's when I first met Tony.
Yeah, that's actually right, because I was introduced to you by your agent, Randy Grossman, who's a great friend of mine as well. So, and like Tim said, we had a great time, but his first pitch, he literally hit the ball out of the park where the guy told him to hit it. And then now he comes back and say, "Oh, well, no, we need a double now." And that took like another 2 hours.
2 hours?
Well, the guy couldn't throw strikes.
He couldn't throw strikes
down the line. I mean, I had to hit it down the line. It couldn't have been like in the gap or anywhere else. So I had to get a good pitch to hit it down the line the way they wanted me to do it.
Plus, they were asking a lot from you. I mean, you had already delivered the home run right where he put it. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Well, I guess, you know what? I think they wanted, they paid me a lot of money just to hit that, that one pitch. So one pitch, the money they paid me would have been way too much for just the one pitch.
Right. We got to stretch it out there. Tim, I wanted to ask you a question. It's about base stealing, because you were this electric base stealer, and you stole 70 bases or more in 6 straight years from 1981 to 86. You know this, of course, but I do too as a fan. And you stole 70 bases in 1986, and you finished 3rd in stolen bases that year. Why do people steal so many fewer bases now? Do you have insight into this?
Well, I think it's because, teams are playing for, hitting the home runs. When you got everybody in the lineup swinging for the fences, you don't want to get anyone thrown out on the base paths, because you're in scoring position when you're at first base with most of these hitters nowadays. So not only that, you're not taking the bat out of anyone's hand. So like I said, they're building these teams with guys, 9 guys can hit home runs. So, once you get on base, you just hang out there until someone hits it out. So,
right.
And nowadays, really, you either hit a home run or you strike out. So one or the other. So what good is stealing a base when the guy can't get a base hit? You try to hit it out of the park.
What do you think is better baseball, though? I mean, I love watching stolen bases.
I'm an old school guy. So, I'm not really into the, going up there swinging for the fences. I think baseball is a game where, you want to utilize all your talents. So if you have speed, use it. If you don't have speed, then you don't have to worry about it. If you have power, use it. But if you're the type of guy that can make contact, get on base with a walk or something, and you can do things on the base pass, there are other ways to win ball games. And I think, the way the game is played today is either one way or the other. There's not a lot of ways you can score runs. And and nowadays it's more like, you got to hit a lot of hits, or you need one hit to score a run. So, and a lot of times you got guys throwing 100+ miles an hour, so it's much tougher to hit it when the guys are throwing that hard.
I mean, Tony and I talk about this all the time. Players don't know how to bunt anymore. I mean, if you want to move a player over, players don't know how to bunt. And it frustrates me as a fan, just because it's a close game. The guy gone in first, you want to move him over to second, and you got a hitter up, and that hitter can't move him over. And I don't know if you guys practice that anymore. If coaches even go over that anymore, they just practice the long ball.
Yeah, I don't think we do. We don't practice it anymore. We don't practice, running the bases. We don't practice stealing bases. We don't practice, trying to get a guy over at second base when he's at second base, less than 2 outs or no outs, hit the ball to the right side to get him over to third base. We don't do any of that anymore. Like I said, it's down to analytics and more of the plane, swinging up. Mm-hmm. And you hit any ground balls. You want to hit the ball in the air. Balls are flying out of the ballpark because they're just so easy to just fly.
Right.
So I think most teams are trying to utilize what they're given. Baseball's alive. Pitchers are throwing a lot of home runs. They're throwing a lot of strikeouts too, but they're throwing a lot of home runs. So the game has changed to where you're either going to be a home run hitter. You're going to bat 250. You might hit 25 home runs. You're going to drive in maybe 65, 70 runs, and that's a great year nowadays.
Right.
Back in my day, you'd probably be sent back to AAA. So, the game has changed, and everybody's pretty much doing it the same way.
Right. So, what's your opinion on the switch, Tim? Now, just imagine when you were playing. If you saw there's no one at third base when you're up to bat, right? They switched over completely. That's a base hit for you. It's a given, right?
Yeah, for me, I want to, I think what they're doing is most times they play the shift is when guys are straight pull hitters. I mean, it could be outside, they pull it, inside, they pull it. So they're going to pretty much hit the ball to that side of the field, 85, 95% of the time. And that's why they do that. But for me, and again, we'll go back to the way the game used to be. You used to see, home run hitters hitting the ball to the other side of the field. Nowadays, because they try, but they're not asking them to do that anymore. They're not asking them to get a guy over third base. They're not asking them to bunt a guy down to second base anymore. Those things are not even asked, and that's why you don't see it. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, the game has changed to a point to where what you see is what you get. You're not going to see anything other than what you see over the past 5-6 years.
Right. It is fascinating, though, because what you're describing, Tim, makes so much sense to me. Is it's not just that the players have changed. It's the way it's coached. It's the way we're all thinking about it. They're asking for different things.
Exactly. And everybody is doing that now. It comes down to analytics. They have these charts of, where every time you hit the ball, where it goes. So if you see all the lines going to the left, that's how we're going to play that guy. If you see all the lines going to the right, that's how we're going to play him. So, but now pitchers have to make those pitches to where that guy's going to hit the ball that way. So, as a pitcher, I've got a shift. There's no way I want to pitch away from that shift.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So if I do, it's my own fault, then the guy might get a hit that way. So that was my fault because I didn't execute a pitch so he could pull it the way we were playing him. So, I mean, it looks weird. It looks like, a guy's missing on the other side of the field. But that's the way they're starting to plan things, and computers are running baseball right now. And for me, I love to see the players run the game.
Yeah,
and,
but a computer cannot tell you about someone's heart.
Exactly,
correct?
Exactly. And I think that's the difference. And I think they're making decisions nowadays on what the computer says and not what you feel about that player. For me, and that's why it's tough for me. If I was a manager, I wouldn't last because I would have to do what someone tells me to do instead of doing what I feel like is right for me.
Right. And
without looking at the computer readouts of how everybody's doing over the past 3 or 4 days or whatever, I should know the player, know what he can do and what he can't do. And I don't really need the computer to tell me. I've been watching this guy every day for the last 3, 4, 5 years. I know what he can do. I know what he brings to the table. And but even though that, there are certain things that he has done that's on paper that you go, oh, I didn't know he did that. But that shouldn't make you make a decision on how you run your game. So, but that's the way it is nowadays.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think the computers affect what the scouts do? Because the scouts are very prominent in the game. I mean, they've been watching these kids, since high school.
Well, that's the difference, though. The scouts are, they're writing down what they see, and what the guy brings to the table. So it's not so much like, the analytics doesn't really get in until once you sign.
Right.
You kind of know what a guy can do. He might have power. He has speed. He has a good arm. He makes contact. He's good with making contact. Now, if you have all those, you can play anywhere. But, you have some guys who say, I want to draft this guy because he has power. He swings and misses a lot, but he has power, so we can use him on our team. And I'm really not a component of using the guys just because they hit it farther than everybody else.
Right.
He might do that maybe 5 or 6 times, but he's going to punch out, every other time. And when you got somebody on base and there's less than 3 outs, a guy at third base, and you got a guy up there that's just going to strike out or hit a home run, you just want him to make contact. If he make contact, he's going to score a run. But if he strikes out, you lose out on an out. That should have been an easy way to score a run, but that's the way they're doing things. Right?
Tim, so one of your best friends is Andre Dawson, actually holding his bat right here. He signed it for me. He played with it with the Marlins. Great guy. I heard a great story when you were playing with him in Montreal. You guys were in Pittsburgh. Lionel Ritchie was in town, and somebody came up to Andre. I love this story. Can you just tell us the story really quickly? I read about it, made me laugh really hard. I haven't stopped laughing yet. Just tell me the story.
No, you're making me laugh. That's
good. That's what I do for a living. I make people laugh. I make people happy.
Well, we were in Pittsburgh. We had a 3 or 4 game series, and myself, Andre, Warren Cromartie, I think, was with us, and a couple other guys, and we're just walking the streets. It was before a game, and we was going to eat lunch or something. And there's this one guy, I think Lionel Ritchie was in town for a show. And so we're walking the street, and this one guy came up to Andre and go, "My God, it's Lionel Ritchie." And it's myself and Dawson and Cromartie. And I swear I fell out. I went to the ground just screaming, laughing. I mean, people was looking at us like we were crazy. But everybody thought it was Lionel Ritchie.
Well, come on.
It was Andre Dawson. It was right. Andre Dawson. He had the same kind of hairdo.
Yeah.
Tall, skinny guy with a kind of a fro.
But 4 shades darker.
Yes, and right. But they swore up and down that he was Lionel Ritchie, and I think I'm still laughing about it. but I think that was the middle of the season, and we laughed at him for the rest, probably 2 or 3 years after.
Right? Did he keep that nickname though? You should have just named him Lionel.
No, Andre got the biggest fist.
Oh yeah,
and the quickest hands I've ever seen. So
wow. If
he gets mad at you, he's gonna hurt you.
Okay.
So, I laugh, but when I laugh, I run, so he can't catch.
Right. But he was like a big brother to you, though, right?
He was more than a big brother to me, man. He was like he was someone that I looked up to, even though we were teammates, not that many years apart, but. He was a guy that I wanted to mimic. Even I couldn't mimic his size, but I could mimic the way he played the game. And he taught me a lot of things. He taught me. I think without him, maybe I wouldn't have been in the Hall of Fame.
That's awesome. Now let me ask you this, Tim. When you see I'm wearing my top shirt. I was honored enough to work for them last spring training and interviewing the players. How did you feel, I would say, when you first saw your face on the Topps trading cards?
Oh man, it's like a little kid, man. Like, wow, that's me. I mean, and I remember going out trying to get as many cards as I could get, so no one
Mm-hmm.
else could get them. So I
Oh,
wanted them myself.
oh wow.
But it's something that I think once you start playing, you can't wait to get that first card. I mean, a lot of times nowadays you get them in the minor league, so it really don't really matter that much about some of these cards. But
Mm-hmm.
your first official top card is the card that I think every uh, professional Major League Baseball player can't wait to actually get, because it's something that, as a kid, I mean, I used to collect them. I wasn't that good at collecting them, but
Right.
like most people nowadays, I mean, they're in mint condition and
Mm-hmm.
you can't touch it this way. You got to
Right.
have sleeves on them and all that
Right.
stuff.
Right.
We put them on our spokes in
Spokes, a
our basement.
bicycle. Exactly. Right around town.
So,
Right.
but it was exciting, to finally get that first
Yeah. See, we were so poor. I used to just go over to my buddy's house and look at their cards. It's like,
Right.
and I looked up one of your cards, Tim. I didn't know one of them was worth about 300 grand. That's pretty cool.
one. Hell, I didn't know that either. Yeah,
I'm just teasing.
I didn't know that either. That's funny. So,
I was figuring that you was telling me a fib right there.
so Tim, you played in Montreal for 13 years. I love the city of Montreal. I have friends there. A friend of mine who lived next door to Floyd Yeomans, a pitcher that pitched for the Expos. He lived next door. He got a call that he crashed a car, and supposedly that car belonged to you. Is that true? Is that a true story?
That's a true story. That is a true story. As a matter of fact, I think he had
He was Doc
he
Gooden's
was
first cousin or something also, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And they're from the same area. As a
Nunn
matter of
Island.
fact,
Nunn Island is where he lived. But tell us the
but
story
he
real quick.
but he and Dwight Gooden are related, and they actually went to school around the same time. As a matter of fact, Floyd in high school was a better pitcher
Oh wow.
than Dwight in their day.
Wow.
So, but Yeoman was a great pitcher too, man. He had a lot of issues off the field more than it was on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But to mention, I mean, I think he got hurt, and we went on the road, and I had him staying with me. So I told him, I have you somewhere to stay. If you need a ride, I give you my car. I had a brand new red Corvette,
Oh, wow.
convertible. And as a matter of fact, I got this car because I've always wanted a Corvette, and I didn't really want it at home. But
What year?
I had an opportunity. That
What
had
year was
to be
the year of the Corvette?
80,
83, 84?
3,
Yeah.
4, something like that.
Okay.
Well, they were nice. I mean, riding down, with the top down in Montreal is, you just got to be there. Actually,
Right. And that's when you had your Jerry. That's when you had your Jerry curl as well, right?
I had my Jerry curl. I don't know how big it was. It might have been the big one or the little one. I'm not sure. But so we go on the road. We leave Floyd. He keeps my car. He stays at my place. We'll get ready to play a game. I get a phone call, and it's Floyd. No, it wasn't Floyd. I think he got hurt, and he might have went to the hospital for a little bit. But guy goes, Yeomans was in an accident and totaled your car, but he's going to be okay.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God. And we still stay friends. I mean, that might have been, those are one of those situations where you can't be friends anymore after you just did what you just did.
Right. But was the car total? Was the car total? And did
it was
he pay
total.
for it? Oh man,
it was total. And I still didn't get anything for it. But
really,
it was all good. I mean,
yeah, I think I'd have kicked him to the curb too.
Actually, it was one of those loaner cars. So I mean, it wasn't like I bought it and it was officially mine, but it was for that season.
But still,
and ended up losing my car, man, and then I had to get like a little Toyota for the rest of the year to drive around. That wasn't any fun. That wasn't any fun.
No, it's no fun at all, especially Montreal, which is a beautiful city. I love St.
Beautiful
Catherine
city.
Street. I love Montreal. I don't like. I never liked Olympic Stadium though. I never liked your stadium where you play. I thought it was. I don't know what it is, but like the Kingdom and Olympic Stadium, I just never liked the dome stadiums that much compared to the outside.
Well, when you're in Montreal, it's cold, it rains a lot.
Yeah.
So that's one of those places where, I'd rather play outside, but I think my first 2 or 3 years, we ended up losing out on a lot of games from rainouts and, not being able to play the game. So down the stretch, we ended up, playing a lot of double hitters. And if you're in a race, it's much tougher because, most guys are playing one game every day in September. We're playing, maybe 9 games, 10 games a week, which plays a role and plays a toll on especially down the end of the season when you've played so many games. So it hurt us. As a matter of fact, when we first started playing, we didn't have a dome. So
That's right. You're right.
The dome was not on there. So it made it a little tougher.
Now, Tim, did you come up from A ball or double A to the big leagues? Because I know it's hard for players now. They'll be great players in double A and triple A, and then they get to the big leagues. And they just can't, do the same thing or put up the same stats that they did in the minor leagues. How tough is it? How tough is it to stay in the big leagues?
It's tough to stay. As a matter of fact, after I signed, I played half season rookie ball. I went the next year, I played full season high A ball. The next year, I played full season double A. So that was my second full season in pro ball. At the end of that year, they called me up to the big leagues. So I was 19, 19, turning 20. We ended up going. My first trip was to Chicago, Wrigley Field, and I had never been on a major league ball field before. And the first stadium I walk into is Wrigley Field. You talking about jitters? I mean, I just walked out on the field with my uniform on.
Yeah,
I didn't even know the players. I mean, I didn't really know my teammates because
right.
I had never gotten an opportunity to go to big league camp. So all I knew was guys on, I knew them from watching them on television. I know them from looking at the papers, watching them on television. So it was like this little guy coming up from Double A, playing with Dawson and Carter and Valentine and all of those guys. I was freaking out. I mean, I went in batting practice. I went out to take the shag, fly balls. I was so nervous I couldn't even catch a fly ball.
Wow. You're probably
Did you start when they brought you up? Did you start the first game?
No. I didn't start any games.
Pinch ran maybe?
Pinch ran.
Yeah.
I think in that first game I ended up stealing a base and scoring a run. So I contributed that first game, but it was all, I didn't play any position. So they just brought me up pretty much just to be a pinch runner.
Wow.
If it would have got to the point where they put me out on the field, then I don't know if I really would have been nervous. I'm like, I don't know if I'm not ready for this.
I can imagine. You were probably sweating like a black man at a Klan rally.
Most definitely.
Right away.
Wow. Well, Tim, I just want to say thank you for being our first guest on our premiere show. And it's been an honor to be your friend over the years and, get very close with your agent, Randy Grossman. He comes over to my mom's house and he eats Thanksgiving and just, you've been someone that I idolized since I was a kid. I had your poster in my room and, to say that we are still friends to this day means the world to me. And it was great seeing you in spring training as well last weekend. And, from my guests, Ross and Dan and our producer, Greg, we just want to say thank you for being our first guest.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I always feel good about being the first, and to get an opportunity to be you guys' first guest. I'm excited about it, and I hope you guys do a great job. Continue with the success, and but I was number one. So
Yeah, you were.
thanks, guys.
Always.
Appreciate
Rock,
it.
thank you.
Tim
Thanks,
Raines in
Tim.
the house. We're out of here. Peace.